A dead valley whispered names nobody should have heard. Stay close for more mysteries that refuse to stay buried. Tonight, we enter a ruined town and a buried experiment. We follow static, missing people, and impossible timing. At the end, the oldest clue changes every voice. Winter locked the valley under iron silence. Frost clung to shattered windows. Snow swallowed cracked stairwells. Above everything, a radio mast leaned into the sky. It should have been dead. Everyone said it was dead. Then a surveyor heard a voice. He was mapping storm damage near an abandoned relay station. His recorder ran through the entire afternoon. Wind scraped rebar. Loose metal moaned in the cold. Nothing sounded unusual. He almost erased the file that night. Then headphones found a pattern inside the hiss. A woman's voice emerged between static bursts. Faint, mechanical, deliberate. She spoke 3 names. Then the signal repeated them again. Same spacing, same breathless pause, same final syllable stretched too long. The recorder stamped the moment after midnight. There was one problem. The surveyor had left before sunset. His device should contain only empty weather. Instead, it preserved a voice naming strangers in darkness. That should have ended as equipment failure. It did not. One name belonged to a missing teenager from Shamo. She vanished during freezing rain near the valley road. Search teams found her scarf beside the river. Nothing else. The second name matched a railway mechanic. He died in a tunnel collapse years earlier. The third name was stranger still. No death certificate, no grave, only an old police file stamped unresolved. The valley carried rumors for decades. Some blamed smugglers moving through winter passes. Others blamed sinkholes under old foundations. Some blamed the military station above town. During its final years, locals reported lights after midnight. They also reported a low hum during storms. Most investigators dismissed everything: weather, distance, fear. Still, the files kept growing. Missing hikers, wrong-way signals, watches stopping on one street, dogs refusing one alley. The accidental recording reopened everything. It connected separate tragedies to one repeating event. Police archived the sound. Researchers cleaned it carefully. Linguists listened. Former officers listened. They all agreed on one point. The speaker named people with care, not randomly, not phonetically, as if she knew them. If this already feels wrong, keep listening. The next clue waited under the town itself. The reopened file centered on the Lantern Quarter. It sat directly below the relay station. Half its buildings had collapsed inward. Fire had gutted the post office. Ivy choked the schoolhouse steps. Yet one structure remained strangely intact, a municipal records office with basement storage. Its door had swollen shut decades earlier. Workers pried it open with steel bars. Cold air rolled out first. It smelled of rot and mineral damp. Flashlights found shelves still standing. The room looked abandoned. It also looked preserved. That distinction changed the case. Inside sat attendance logs and ration cards. Signal maintenance reports filled 2 cabinets. Then crews found a narrow ledger wrapped in waxed cloth. The wrapping blocked most moisture. The ledger covered winter months. Those months matched the station's final operating period. At first it looked administrative: transmission tests, weather pressure, population checks. Then the margins changed everything. Names appeared there in pencil. Not formal names, local names, nicknames, family abbreviations. Some were crossed out, some were circled twice, some carried star marks. The 3 names from the recording all appeared inside. They were not grouped together. They appeared across separate dates. Each date matched a severe weather event. On 2 nights, power failed valley-wide. On another, river ice cracked early. Every marked entry ended the same way: confirmed present after signal. That phrase shifted the entire investigation. Present where? Present to whom? Present for what? Nobody knew. But the names no longer looked like victims. they looked like checked responses. A retired constable named Aaron Vey returned to the file. He had worked the disappearance as a junior officer. Age had bent his shoulders. It had not dulled his memory. He remembered parents waiting under station lights until dawn. He remembered one rumor never written down. Several witnesses claimed they heard the missing girl answer someone, not face to face, through a radio. Back then, that sounded impossible. Portable sets were rare there. The valley had poor reception, and the relay station operated under restrictions, so the detail vanished from summaries. Vey never forgot it. When he heard the new recording, he asked for the ledger. He studied those margin notes for days. Eventually, one pattern surfaced. Every marked name belonged to someone missing, dead, or displaced. And every case happened within months of a signal entry. The case moved uphill. Investigators climbed to the relay station in blackout conditions. They wanted darkness. They wanted wind. They wanted the same pressure drop. The building stood on cracked concrete stilts. Snow hissed across its roof. Inside, dust coated control panels like ash. Wires hung from open racks. Rats had nested in cable trays. Yet one room felt recently disturbed. Boot prints ended at a steel cabinet. It was bolted into the wall. The lock had rusted shut long ago. Cutting tools opened it within minutes. Inside waited vacuum tubes and faded schematics. A maintenance reel sat beneath them. Its label read, "Repeater Cascade Test." Under that lay a sealed envelope. It was addressed, but never filed. The paper had yellowed badly. Still, it remained readable. It was not a confession. It was worse. It was a warning ignored by superiors. The memo described voices during signal rebounds. Engineers first suspected crosstalk. Then they noticed something worse. The voices repeated local names not currently on duty. The station chief ordered internal checks. On separate nights, technicians logged replies. Those replies followed after speaking names aloud. The answers came from inactive receivers below in the ruins. The memo requested immediate suspension. No suspension happened. Why continue? Because the anomaly had potential value. That exact word appeared twice. Value. The station was testing emergency transmission across difficult terrain. If strange conditions carried sound farther, officials wanted results. Winter roads were closing. Pressure to continue kept rising. So experiments continued while the town shrank around them. That alone would be chilling. But then the signal stopped acting like weather. Then the signal began answering with knowledge it should not have. A second folder hid beneath the reel. It held rough transcripts. They were brief, disturbingly brief. An operator calls a name, static answers, then short phrases arrive. Here, at the stairs, still below, cold now. One line silenced the room. After an operator called the mechanic's name, the response said, "Tell my wife I never left." That mechanic had supposedly died hours earlier. Records placed his body under rock and timber until morning. If the transcript was genuine, somebody heard his voice before recovery. Possible explanations existed: mistaken identity, a joke, fabrication after the fact. Yet transcript timestamps matched weather logs. They matched payroll signatures. They matched generator output records. Too many ordinary details aligned. The ordinary details made the impossible feel heavier. Aaron Vey pushed deeper into cold storage. He requested personal items from evidence rooms: scarves, notebooks, train tags, a cracked wristwatch. He wanted one connection, any sign the missing people linked to the station. Most had none. Then he found a school parade photograph. Children marched with paper lanterns. Behind them stood a volunteer radio table. At that table sat the unresolved third name, a girl called Mirelle Dane. She was not officially missing. She simply vanished from paperwork after 19. No transfer record, no burial record, no census update. Nothing. Her parents left town the next year. Their house later burned. Vey tracked a surviving relative in another province. The woman remembered one family story. Mirel could identify voices through walls. She knew neighbors by footsteps alone. During storms, adults asked her to listen to radio noise. Then she would tell them if the station was calling. That sounded folkloric. Then the relative opened a box. Inside sat school certificates and ration coupons. There was also a small notebook. Mirel had filled it with relay tower sketches. Again and again, she drew spirals. Beneath one spiral, she wrote a sentence. "The names come back before the people do." Vey read it twice, then checked the date. It was written months before her records ended. If this case is pulling you deeper, stay with it. The next answers came from science, but science only widened the mystery. The investigation split into two questions. What was the station actually transmitting, and why did names return before bodies and witnesses? Science offered partial clues. Under rare conditions, temperature inversions bend radio waves. Signal reflections can create ghost transmissions. Old analog equipment can capture distant fragments. None of that explains accurate names tied to future discoveries. None of that explains replies from disconnected sets. Researchers tested the surviving hardware anyway. They rebuilt part of the repeater. They used original components when possible. They measured every tube. They traced each circuit path carefully. Nothing seemed unusual at first. Then they powered a corroded timing unit. A hidden frequency window opened below the documented band. The station had a second operating layer, unlisted, narrow, intermittent, designed to wake only under specific atmospheric pressure. That meant concealment. Somebody built the system for more than emergencies. The basement archive soon supplied motive. Among payroll forms sat unusual requisitions. They referred to population continuity exercises. The phrase sounded harmless. The attached notes did not. Selected civilians were asked to report hearing tests. Also sleep disruptions, memory slips, repeated dream content after storm nights. Most forms were unsigned. Some used initials only. One initial matched Mirel Dane. The valley had become an experiment without consent. Investigators mapped disappearances against signal nights. The overlap was ugly. Incidents clustered near testing windows. 3 apparent accidents happened within hours of transmissions. Several survivors described hearing relatives call from empty rooms. One woman walked barefoot into snow. She believed her son was singing outside. He had moved away months earlier. Still, Vey resisted a supernatural reading. He believed in trauma and suggestion. He believed in pressure gradients. He believed in institutional secrecy. But one detail kept cutting through logic. The repeated names were not only dead names. Some belonged to people still alive during transmission, people who later disappeared. That suggested the signal was not recalling them. It was identifying them, maybe selecting them, maybe drawing a line around them before anyone knew. The final breakthrough came from the municipal basement. Workers moved a collapsed shelf that exposed a service hatch beneath the tiles. Stale air rushed upward. A ladder dropped into darkness. Vey descended first with a lantern and recorder. Water dripped somewhere unseen. The chamber below was narrow. Cork insulation lined the walls. Copper wire ran across ceramic brackets. Those wires disappeared directly into bedrock. At the far wall stood a desk. A microphone stand waited beside it. So did headphones built for a child. Mirel Dane had a room. Not a symbolic room, a working room, a listening room. That changed her role completely. She was never only a witness. She had been placed at the center. Notebooks covered the floor and shelves. Some had dissolved into pulp. Others survived enough to read. The earliest pages recorded simple listening drills. Name the voice, repeat the weather, count the clicks. Later entries changed tone. Do not answer unknown callers. If you hear your own name, remove headset. If names begin before switch on, notify chief. One warning appeared 3 times. Never confirm location after second call. Nobody could explain that line. Soon they would. Then the final notebook appeared. Its last intact entries described a brutal storm. Pressure dropping fast. Ice halos around the moon. The station testing the hidden band at full strength. Morell wrote that the names arrived all at once, not spoken at first, felt first, then heard. She recognized neighbors and travelers. She recognized people absent from town. She wrote that some names answered from places unfound, places they had not yet reached. One sentence stood apart. It was underlined so hard the paper tore. They are using tomorrow to call today. That line reframed everything. Maybe the anomaly was not speaking with the dead. Maybe it was folding signals across time, briefly, unevenly, catastrophically. The station, chasing range, may have forced several conditions together: frozen air above, mineral-rich stone below, a hidden frequency between official bands, human listeners trained to detect weak patterns before instruments. Morell was not standing nearby as a witness. She was part of the machine. Then came the tape. A rusted locker in the chamber held small reels. Most were warped beyond recovery. One survived. Specialists cleaned it frame by frame. When played, it began with calibration tones. Then a man announced a cascade test. Wind rattled the building. Someone asked if the child was ready. A soft voice said yes. Then names started arriving faster than the operator could write. Some belonged to known victims, some matched living residents. Then a new voice entered. It was not the operator. It was not Morell. It was the same woman from the surveyor's recording. Clearer now, colder, speaking from inside the noise. Do not continue. Papers rustled. Someone laughed nervously. The operator asked for identification. The woman answered with a date, not a name. The room on the tape fell silent. That date came years after Morell's last records. Then the woman continued. The names are not missing people. They are future losses. After that, shouting erupted. A switch snapped. Static screamed. The reel ended mid-burst. No official record mentioned a warning, yet Vey recognized the voice pattern from the surveyor's file. Analysts compared both recordings carefully. Their spectral features aligned strongly, enough to suggest the same speaker or the same source conditions. Either explanation felt impossible. That meant the station may have contacted somebody far ahead in time, maybe by accident, maybe more than once, and that person tried to stop them. Then the next twist cut deeper than the rest. Vey searched archives for women linked to the valley. He found one. A communications specialist documented contamination